And we are live. Good evening, everyone. And actually, what I should double check is to make sure that I have my volume settings and everything, my audio. Let's make sure. Yes and yes. Okay. Should double check that beforehand. So welcome everyone to another live stream. So this is the OSR tabletop live stream with myself, DM Bloodworth, and pretty much what I was thinking of doing is it's been quite a while since I've done recaps of my various campaigns that I'm either working on or currently running. And we in my Castles and Crusades group, which is and I'll show off the characters in a moment. We've been going pretty solid for the last 9 weeks now. Our first session was on December, I want to say December 12th. And so we've done 9 sessions since December 12th. So we're kind of right on pace. We did miss 1 week during the process, the holidays and all of that. So it's not unheard of for that kind of thing to happen. But for the most part, we've been very, very steady, and that's always a good thing because, one of the things. Hey, Mirador, if you want to jump in, you're certainly welcome to do so. And there is the link, and I also put the link in my Discord as well, so you can get to it at either place. So I was just doing a setup. So the Castles and Crusades campaign that I am currently running, and it's now into its 9th week with 7 to 8 very consistent players, at the moment, and there are still 3 other players that have come in and out, as they're available to do so, and that just reminds us, I think, that. There's both a benefit and a detriment to running online games. One of the benefits is that you have a much broader reach, and you can bring in people from all over the world, essentially, to come and enjoy and join into your games that they otherwise wouldn't have that opportunity to do. The downside is that we're all adults, and so we have adult lives, and we have a lot of things going on, and whether it be family obligations or work or whatnot, and so occasionally you have to skip a week, and that's kind of the thing that happens now. The benefit of that is that when you are playing online and you have to skip a week, it's not the same thing as having to skip a week when you would normally be traveling to some location to do it. So there's a lot more flexibility in there. So there's a give and take, just like anything else. And, but for the most part, it's taken, I'd say, 9 weeks for this campaign to really kind of gel. And so without further ado, I will share a screen here and talk a little bit about the group that we have together, and I'll talk about some of our adventures so far. So let's see. There we go. So this is, and I'm sure that you'll all be able to see this in a moment, and hopefully it's large enough for you to see. That's about as large as I can make it anyway. So Castles Yggsburgh, the Yggsburgh setting is Gary Gygax's Yggsburgh setting. If you're not familiar with some of the materials coming out of Troll Lord Games recently and going on into the future, Troll Lord Games has an exclusive as of now to start to republish many of Gary Gygax's works, most of which was originally published through Troll Lord Games back in 2004ish, and Gary Gygax was working with them up until his passing in 2008. So this was the last gaming company that Gary Gygax worked with, and pretty extensively. There's a lot of materials coming out. So when this became available, it was certainly something I wanted to jump in on. I'm just going to switch views here because I know some 2 people are looking to join in. Oh no, just 1. All right. Hey Mirador, how's it going?
Hello, this is
Hello.
Mirador, and as the game knows, Cornelius.
Yes. And I was just about to introduce the characters. Let's see, while I'm on this screen here, need more. Hello. Thanks. Need more cowbell. Yeah, I came across a thing. I absolutely love that. And there was a Super Bowl commercial with Christopher Walken, and I think at some point somebody actually mentioned, because I didn't really catch it like right away, but someone had mentioned, or he had mentioned cowbell. So what an awesome reference. So anyway, and Rational Ginger, hello, good to see you again. And we have Flint Fireforge, evening, and welcome aboard. I haven't seen you at least previously, so welcome to the channel if this is your first time here. And cool character that you're named after, so that's pretty cool. I'm a big Dragonlance fan myself, and I will get back to the talk now about Gary Gygax's Yggsburgh setting and our 9-week-old Castles and Crusades campaign. So we are joined by Cornelius, who is a gnomish druid, and he's a certain type of druid. So why don't you explain that, Mirador or Cornelius, if you want to explain the type of druid that you are.
Yeah, it's a Hungrador who's actually from the.
Oh, you broke up a little bit. It's from the Celtic mythology, correct?
It's from the air setting.
Oh, the arid setting. Okay.
Yes.
And so how is that type of druid a little bit different than the standard druid in Castles and Crusades?
Well, and it has a 10-sided dice for hit dice instead of 8, and then instead of at level 6 to.
I think your sound is breaking up.
Change it to a elemental instead of an animal at level 6.
No, the game does not have Kenders in it. It does have halflings, but no Kenders. So I was answering a question if you're looking at the screen. So yeah, so we have Cornelius, the gnome druid. We have Pounds, who was our elven ranger. And just in the last session, actually, I actually made a mistake because Pounds had fumbled, and she had rolled a 20, and then after the fumble on the fumble chart, which actually became a 19, which is still a pretty serious fumble. And I forgot it's a weapon. The weapon malfunctions and ends up hitting the individual. That's how, like in her case, it was like a bowstring strikes up and hits her in the, hits her through the eye or whatever, and deals a massive amount of damage. So at the time, she had 12 hit points. She took a D12 of damage, which brought her down to just 4 hit points. So she took 8 hit points of damage. But then I forgot to apply the fact that her weapon damage would also apply. And in that particular attack that she was doing, she had done 8 points of damage. So her character was actually brought to -4, which in Castles and Crusades is not as, it's going to cause a scar. It's going to, it was going to incapacitate the character unless they were immediately stabilized, which she was, and then she was healed up. I believe like 8 points. I don't know if you healed her up,
Yeah,
Cornelius,
I
or
mean, I did a double run, whatever. I did a double movement
yes, that's correct.
together, and then healed her the following round.
Yes, and so she was given aid pretty quickly, and and then back on her feet. It's not like AD&D First Edition where if you're brought to negatives and then you can only be brought back up to 0, and then from there any additional healing will get you back into the positives again. But unlike AD&D First Edition, you do not have to rest for an entire week when you've gone into negatives. It's a little bit more forgiving as far as recovery is concerned, and it's a little bit less forgiving in the fact that it has these. I use option 5 of the fumble chart and the critical hit chart, and so it's a little bit more unforgiving there, in the amounts of damage and such going on. So it was close. It was very, very close that her character could have very easily died. If she had any less hit points than the 12, she would have been in real serious shape, if not actually killed by it. So it's a much more challenging game system. So that was pretty much the highlight of Pounce's and Cornelius's segment during the combat that they were in. They were in the combat with a bog hag, which is a Celtic mythology creature that does a whole crap ton of damage if they actually ended up pushing it to the point that it was going to resort to melee combat, because that's where their true damage really comes into play. The bog hag was pretty much trying to use its horror effect. It's so damn ugly that it just freezes people into place, to either make them flee or to be paralyzed, which actually happened to Cornelius, right? So he was actually paralyzed for 4 rounds during the combat, with just the state of her ugliness. And then she used a spell-like ability that was like a dreadful scream that has almost the same effect. It would stun those that would fail their saving throw, and yet even that didn't have very much effect on the party. The party was actually making their saving throws pretty decently, and they survived through the combat. Then all of a sudden, she just took some pretty quick hits, and before she had the opportunity to try to flee, she was then hit with a very, very solid hit from Bill the Fighter, who finished her off. So the party here, as you can see on the screen, is Cornelius, a gnomish druid, Pounce, an elfin ranger, Seven is a monk, a human monk, obviously. Cormac is a cleric. Oswald is a halfling bard. Oswald is played by the OGGM, in case you know his channel as well. Bill the Fighter is played by Shadow and Son, who also has his own YouTube channel as well. And Yarg is played by Kelly Foote, and a TSR alumni from the 1980s. So he is probably the most experienced, I guess, player in the group, having actually worked for TSR and worked with Gary Gygax back in the day. So this has been pretty much the standard group that I've grown to count on. And they're with me from all but Oswald, the Halfling Bard, has been with me through my AD&D First Edition campaign, which lasted around 2 years and 2 months or so. The other players are Mr. Z, who is a wizard. His real life wife, Shalhira, is a rogue and a half elf rogue, I believe. And then Ragnir is a half orc fighter. And between mostly work related issues, they have not been able to attend the last 2 sessions or so. So hopefully they get through their, this next month or so of heavy workload, and they can, make a return back. So anything to add, Cornelius? And you're muted, by the way. So let's see, what else do we have here? I'm going to go back to, I wonder if I could adapt the CNC rule set to run Dark Sun campaign. Probably easier than running AD&D Second Edition. Yeah, it probably would be. And I mean, the Castles and Crusades rule set is fairly. I mean, it's very streamlined. It's very simple, and you can adapt it to any real setting. I mean, settings are highly adaptable to begin with. I mean, Dark Sun is, and I'm not that familiar with it at all. I actually never played it or played in Dark Sun setting. I actually don't even own it, so or at least not legitimately. I might have it someplace on a PDF back from when the Trove was around. But you can adapt virtually anything to to Dark Sun or vice versa. You can bring settings to game systems and such. I think CNC would probably work good because I know it's a very dark and gritty setting, and Castles and Crusades strikes me as being a little bit lower fantasy than AD&D First Edition, let's say. So it's a little bit less magical, slightly less high fantasy than AD&D First Edition. So I think that might play better in a Dark Sun campaign as well. Hey Uriah, how's it going? Good to see you. And again, I always have the open invitation out to you to join in any game as a member of the of my YouTube channel, an actual member, and that gives you access to games. I am running a Call of Cthulhu Second Edition, known as now Classic Edition campaign that I'm actually starting tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and looking forward to getting that actually launched. We've done a couple of session zeros, and some people dropped out. They never actually were able to come in. They thought, oh, you know what, this is just the wrong time or whatever. I was only looking for 3 players in it anyway. So I think we have our 3 players ready to roll. One of which is Cornelius, that's already in here with his character. Another is Kelly Foote, who is the wizard in my Castles and Crusades campaign, and then a new player who will be playing Jack Frank, a lawyer. So looking forward to that as well. And I will be doing separate recaps for my Call of Cthulhu campaign as well. So I see. Oh, okay, that's where he is. So he's with his wife is on lunch break or dinner break right now, so we'll be back. And I just saw a comment from MT Inside. Hey, how's it going? Late but never too far gone. You've got time to forget me. No, I have not forgotten you. There is no forgetting you. Seven, I already spoke about your character, and you're welcome to jump in if you can. I will post the link again, and anyone else can jump in if you want to talk about either your current campaign or you want to ask questions about my current campaign and such. You are all welcome to jump in at this point. Uriah, I would love to, if my schedule would allow it. I work afternoons. Well, yeah, I don't know what time zone you're in, Uriah. I'm looking to run these now, alternating Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So I don't know how that works within your schedule, but again, you are welcome to join in on it. If you wish to. I will go with 4-player characters. That's fine. And it should work out pretty good. I know tomorrow I'm going to spend most of my morning just prepping, doing some additional prep for it, creating some NPC characters, and and we're looking for a hard launch tomorrow. We're actually going to go right into the storytelling of it, and the mystery, and the and the beginning of the adventure. It might actually be a one shot, not just because it's Call of Cthulhu, but they might be able to wrap up everything in one session, and then we'll see. We'll see how it kind of develops, whether it would be episodic or not. I can remove this now. So looking forward to that. And so let's see. If anyone has anything you want to discuss, we can certainly discuss that as well. I've put up a few videos this week. Obviously, a lot of people are talking about the 50th anniversary of Dungeons and Dragons, and there was a bit of a brouhaha over, the fact that the Dungeons and Dragons YouTube channel, so the official YouTube channel, came out and thanked all the fans and everything for the 50th anniversary, which is hey, that's fine and everything, but they did not mention the creators of the game, so that's kind of weird, so they didn't mention Dave Arneson or Gary Gygax and and other luminaries, really, that were paramount in actually launching the hobby. I mean, we wouldn't have the hobby if it weren't for those individuals, or it certainly wouldn't have evolved into what it has. The fact that they didn't mention them at all is kind of bizarre. It's like, if you feel you're going to alienate fans by mentioning Gary Gygax or Dave Arneson, then you don't have fans that are worth keeping around, to be honest with you. It's like, and they don't have much respect for their fans to begin with anyway, but it's just such a weird way to manage an IP that you own. It's very, very bizarre. I would say almost unheard of, but you look at the way Disney treats everything as well, it's almost on par. Maybe not quite as bad as Disney, but it's darn close. So let's see. Do you think WotC isn't mentioning Gary Gygax, at least because he moved on and worked with Troll Lord Games? No, they're not mentioning him because they it wasn't like he had an option to stay with TSR when WotC bought TSR, and there was never, from my understanding of listening to a variety of histories of Dungeons and Dragons and everything, um, there was no intention of them, once Wizards of the Coast owned Dungeons and Dragons. There was no intention of, as far as I know, of Peter Atkins looking to bring Gary Gygax into his company. I seriously doubt it. And they didn't extend any kind of an invitation to Dave Arneson either. Um, I mean, I think the only one that continued to work with them, to a certain extent, was Ed Greenwood, and that's because they decided to make, for the longest time, they decided to make the Forgotten Realms part of their, their official setting. And they've tried here and there to work with Tracy Hickman and Margaret Weiss, and we've seen how that has been, a pretty tenacious, let's say that, a pretty tenacious relationship between the two groups, Wizards of the Coast and both Weiss and Hickman. And so not really any kind of true acknowledgement from them. I mean, they barely mention the passing of any of these legendary individuals as well. I mean, like when Otis died, I don't think that Errol Otis, I'm sorry, Errol Otis died. They didn't say. I don't think they made like a big statement about it or anything. Um, there's, I mean, there's been others as well that they just don't really value the legacy of their IP. It's not what their intent is. Their intent is to look forward and to do, to do what they can to make more money. On their latest video, I asked if the new history book will have the warning label. Did they? I heard that they scrubbed a lot of the OGGM was talking about it, that they scrubbed a lot of the comments that were just asking, hey, what about Gary? What about Dave Arneson? No mention of them whatsoever in that first, thank you 50th anniversary video. So, Cal, I would go in there and see if your question is still up there, because I'm fairly certain that they scrubbed a lot of what the OGGM had already pointed out. So, like, the internet never fails, or never forgets. People, he has that on his video that you can see those comments that they took them all down. So it's pretty sad, because they're trying to erase everything pre 2014, and they've said as much anyway. But what they're, it won't be very long when they try to erase 5e. All right, and we'll see what happens with that. So mine was, last I checked, I took pics too. Yeah. Yeah, so it could still be there, or it might actually be gone. So, but it's not a, it's a valid question, because if they truly respected their, if they truly respected the legacy of their game, they would not put that, warning label on their own products. I'm saying, it's like, I joked with somebody a week or so ago, where I said, Philip Morris fought tooth and nail to try to not have to put warning labels on cigarette packages, and I really do think that it's Jeremy Crawford that put those warning labels on the products there. I think that was his decision, at the time, and they did it voluntarily. they voluntarily put warning labels on their own products. So it's just a bizarre company. It really is. It's it's run by very disconnected from their own IP individuals. Hey, welcome back, Cornelius. And if anybody else wants to jump in, you're welcome to jump in. I will put this up here, and there is the link. And better to have the warning label and the ability to buy a print copy than no label and no way to print a hard copy. You can find PDFs online, and or you can, at the time when they did that, you could still get most of the older edition stuff for about $30 to $60, which is the same price of modern hardcovers anyway. So I literally bought all of my AD&D first edition books. The only one that was over $100 was the Deities and Demigods, the 144 page version of it, and that was 120, which was a steal. I'll admit that was a steal. Everything else was under $50. So at the time, so I don't know where their prices are now, but that was around the time that they put the disclaimer up on the stuff as well. So they put the disclaimer up around the time that the false flag of Oriental Adventures was pushed by Daniel Kwan and his nonsense. Never read the book and yet came out and said it was racist and all that nonsense. So they had to jump. They had to jump on that because somebody from Twitter, basically told them that this stuff needs to have a warning label on it. So again, just very sad policy of theirs. Anyhow, so now I'm getting ready to run Call of Cthulhu, and we of course know how the Sparkle trolls on Twitter react to H.P. Lovecraft, and so and clearly I don't care. Same thing was with Robert E. Howard, and again I don't care. I've never really, I never really paid attention to that kind of stuff. Like, I really don't care what someone's individual politics are, or their stuff when they're a game designer or an artist or something like that. I've always focused on, is the game good? Is it something that people would want to play, and is it fun to play or fun to run? And is it something that is fairly simple to write content for, and so on? And if it's hitting all those criteria, I don't care what the politics around it, or if it has politics baked into it, that I can see not wanting to deal with. But if there's no politics baked into it, and people are trying to attach nonsense to it, then I'm not even going to pay attention to it. I don't care. Let's see. So yeah, I don't think it's better to have a warning label, just to respectfully disagree with you there. I think that it's better to have the integrity, to stand by your product that you own. If they're that upset about it, they should sell the older edition stuff. They can compartmentalize and say, hey, you know what? We're going to keep everything that was Wizards of the Coast moving forward, and everything that was TSR moving backwards, we're selling. They could absolutely do that, and they would get buyers for it too. I guarantee it. They could compartmentalize it and absolutely sell off that stuff that they're so embarrassed by. They barely acknowledge that it even exists anymore anyway, so they might as well just give it up. It's better they did a warning label so I get to give them crap about it. Yeah. Which, I mean, when it first came out, I actually put up a one of those petitions, and it had something like a little over 2,000 signatures or whatever to try to, encourage them to take it down, take down the warning labels. But in the end, they're going to probably end up pulling all their product from Roll20 anyway. So I don't think that that's going to last there very much longer anyhow. I've seen a date. I've seen February 24th as a date for something along those lines. So if anybody else has heard anything about February 24th, I saw a very quick snippet of info about February 24th related to D&D 5e and related to virtual tabletops. So I'm not quite sure what that was. Yes, they do hold sway over WotC, because they're very weak-minded individuals. They're not. They don't stand firm on their own products. They labeled their own products too. It was everything that was going back to that time frame. I mean, it wasn't just TSR products. It was some of their stuff that was, I guess, 3.0 materials also had that warning label placed on it. So getting back to my current campaigns and everything. So I have the Castles and Crusades, and that's been running fairly well. I also have Call of Cthulhu, which is going to start tomorrow night, and then I just purchased yesterday. I just purchased Crown and Skull. All right, so that's a Runehammer game system. I have not dug any further than doing that very first introductory video, looking at the digital components that came with it. But I'm really interested in taking a look at it and seeing what I can what I can pull from it, or I might even actually run it in September, because that was like my New Year's resolution for 2024, is that I'm going to go to at least 3 or 4 conventions in 2024, and I am going to keep on just running these systems that you might not have seen before, or I think systems that I think are going to be a much bigger thing in 2024, whether that be Shadow Dark, or I'm running a Blade Runner, which is coming out with its second adventure path, let's say its second case file, they call them. And so looking to run that again, and then when a new one comes out, I'm going to purchase that, and that'll be for the following year, probably 2025. One of those first conventions that I go to. And then I'm also looking to, I'm running Weird Frontiers at conventions again, so that'll be the second time that I'm running an adventure that I wrote myself. And, so just ever expanding what I'm actually running. And I think that I'll be running something like 8 different systems this upcoming year. and whether it be one shots or convention play and such. And I think that that's a very good um, a very good spread of different types of game systems and genres and everything to, to actually gain some experience in running so many different game systems. And I think that it's something that a lot of people should really try to, throw their hat in in the ring and, run more games and run games that are less mainstream, let's say. Hey, what's going on? Mercurius, good to see you. What's he had? I'm not sure what they did. So Watsy had done what? um, oh, I heard a voice. Cornelius?
Yeah, I just thought you might want to talk about the festival that we had in town in.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, that's right. So,
Um,
yep,
what's
no,
that
you're
called?
absolutely right. So I will talk about that as well. So let me see. So Mercurius is a member for 1 month now. So yes, he became a member last month, and he, and he did a awesome, awesome job. He also, and again, you're welcome to join in any of my games as well, Mercurius. So you're welcome to join my YouTube, my YouTube. I'm sorry. You're welcome to join my Call of Cthulhu that's starting tomorrow night. You're in my Discord, so you can always just jot in there and say, "Hey, these are my time slots that I'm available to work or play," and I will work around those and try to get you in on something. So let's see. Let's talk about as Cornelius mentioned. So I picked this up. This is Adventure Module DP1. This comes from BRW Games. This is Joe Block, who is the Greyhawk Grognard. And I went to the convention. I went to Page, which is the Philadelphia game convention. It was the first inaugural year last year, and just this past January. And I saw him there. I saw Joe Block there, and we kind of like I've seen each other and spoken to each other before as well over the internet, obviously, and yeah, and I've seen him at other conventions as well. And I happened to have my players in the Castles and Crusades campaign actually engaged in some clowns. I was going to put some clowns. There was a festival coming up in the in the setting that I created, and then I saw this module that he had there, this adventure, and I was like, holy cow! I just had them that Tuesday. So this was the weekend following that Tuesday night. I said, I just had my players fighting a clown, and so I picked this thing up, and it's kind of like a crazy circus adventure where you can play it multiple ways, but there's I kind of tweaked it a little bit to kind of fit what I was looking to do in my campaign. And so the players themselves, their characters, I should say, the player characters were experiencing the circus differently than others, the common folk and everything. And so they ran into some pretty crazy things. The funhouse was a real dangerous funhouse experience for them. And I'll let Cornelius talk a little bit about the funhouse as well.
Yeah, well, I certainly hope that though non-player characters would have entered the funhouse and had the experience that we had. Otherwise, it would have been pretty gruesome.
Yeah.
There were several traps, and there were ghouls, and um, so there was a lot of encounters that it was very challenging.
Yeah.
We made it through, but it was kind of a close call for us.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's and plus you were a lower level too. You were only, level 1, level 2 at that point. Now that your guy, most of the party now is close to level 3 or at level 3.
Yeah,
It should become a little bit more survivable. But
yeah. I think the party was 1 and 2, and now the party's
yeah,
like 2 and 3. So
yeah.
a
So
little bit higher now.
so I'm curious. Yeah, Australia. I used to play, fairly consistently with somebody that lived in the Philippines, and so I'm assuming that's fairly close to your time zone. And yeah, you guys are like, 12 hours ahead, or 12 hours behind, however you want to look at. However, it kind of lands, and yes, it is challenging. I understand that it's challenging to deal with an Eastern time zone versus Australia. But I have had it work, but it does take, it takes like really early morning sessions, I believe, on my part in order to do that. I'm on lunch hour at the moment. Yeah, so it's 9 p.m. here, and if you're like noon, then if you're lunch hour, um, so 9 hour difference. I thought it was more of a difference than 9 hours, but possibly not. Or you might even be in a different day, right? So you might be in the lunch hour tomorrow. Yeah, so it's 12:16 there, and is it Friday or is it Thursday? I mean, yeah, is it Friday or Thursday? Friday, yeah. So you're
So he's on the other side of the
15,
international
he's
date
like
line.
15 hours ahead.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So that's it. He's 15 hours ahead. I knew it was like a crazy difference in time zone. So that's cool. Um,
We have trouble enough with people in California time zone.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, the OGGM is California, and so is Shadow and Sun. And
And in the previous game, um, our I'm drawing a blank on his name. The fighter mage was also in California.
yes, Amalric was
Malric, yeah.
California, and so was Cedric, the wizard. He was
Cedric
California.
and our rogue. Um,
Yeah, and then, oh yeah, where was not Candrius? Oh, I'm drawing a blank. Crandon. Crandon is
Brandon,
California.
I think so. Yeah,
All right, and Kelly
yeah,
is in Spain, or
yeah. Well, he's yeah. I don't know where he is currently. He said he's in France this week, but
yeah, he
yeah,
was in
he's
France
roaming
this week.
around.
Yeah,
He's roaming around Europe currently. Apparently,
yeah. So yeah, my group has people probably spanning a 12-hour time span in different time zones. So it does, like I said, have a good night, Rational Ginger. Um, yeah, so it does run a span, and again, that's what I was saying as far as the benefits of running online, and then managing schedules like that is one of the detriments to it, is that it is a balancing act that has to be done. And like I said early on, all of us having jobs and families and other stuff like that to deal with, it also you know makes it that much harder sometimes to get a very consistent run. But we've been doing well. We've been doing pretty well with it. Like I said, we've done 9 sessions in probably about 10 weeks. So I think we're on a pretty good clip as far as that's concerned. And our previous campaign, we were pretty solid. I mean, we did
Yeah, I think we only missed maybe 2 or 3 weeks the
108
whole 2 years.
sessions, and we only missed like maybe three. And it
Yeah.
wasn't like miss. It was like postponed until later.
I think there was maybe only
Week.
one. I think there was only 1 week where we actually skipped the whole week.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think that there was only one time where we're like, all right, we're just going to skip the whole week and we'll wait 2 weeks until we come back. And that was probably my vacation week. That that was probably the one vacation week that we did that on. So,
Yeah, and I think the only time I ever missed the AD&D campaign was what the day my father went in the hospital and had to go take my mom
yes,
to see him in the
yeah,
hospital. I mean, every other session.
yeah, and that was pretty much uniform for everybody. I mean, I think we all at one point missed a session. But when you have 8 to 10 players and someone can't make it, it's pretty easy to just move forward, without that much of an issue. It remains a bit like we'll see how the Call of Cthulhu works with just 3 players. I think it would still manage to go with 2 if one person can't make it that week, or maybe we'll have somebody step in if they're free to do that as well, and we can have open, kind of like an open, you can step right in and play this NPC or something like that along the way, and have a rotational kind of thing like that. We'll see how it goes. I'm all kind of planned out for the 3 of you, and should work out pretty well. At least I hope it will. So so we're coming up on an hour, and I'm going to probably wrap this up in about 8 minutes. So if anyone else has anything to add, anything going on in the in the gamosphere, and within the hobby or such, you're certainly welcome to throw that out there.
I don't know if you want to talk about how you've been doing the hex crawl part that we've been doing for the last few weeks. I don't know if you wanted to go over
Yeah,
that at all.
that's so yes, I've been uh the Yggsburgh map. The way that it's set up is that it really is designed like very old school way of doing a hex crawl. And there are very good random tables in the Castles Yggsburgh book. So this is the book that I'm referring to from Troll Lord Games, and it does have really good, like I said, wandering tables and random tables and such, encounter tables, and set in different types of environments, and whether you're on the road, and how often do they occur, and they're much more possible to have encounters, the way that the dice roll is set up. So it's not just on a 1 in 6. There's probably about a 40% chance of something happening, whether it be a weather effect or an encounter, and then the rest is then the middle possibilities is nothing happens. But there's a different table for nighttime than daytime as well. So it really is a well thought out random tables. So I really like those, and the hex scroll has been working pretty well. So let's see. So I am still learning the death of the possible Joe M. Dragonlance TV series officially announced and confirmed by Weiss last week. Yeah, it's it's not surprising, because I think what happened was that I think that Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast, um, once they started to realize that this thing was going to possibly be very popular, they don't want to give that to Tracy Hickman and Margaret Weiss. And I think that's what it is. They really don't want anything to do with them. They're what they have been doing these last several years is everything that they produce is a one and done. So when they came out with when they came out with the Dragonlance slipcase last year, one and done. They'll never revisit it again. When they came out with the when they came out with the books for from Matt Mercer, like Wildmount and everything, one and done. They'll never revisit that setting again. Strixhaven, one and done. They'll never do anything that supports Strixhaven again. And that's their own stuff. So they do this with their own products as well. They do just one time, a one shot. Everything that they do is a one and done. It's not even like they try to catch lightning in a bottle for a second time. They just put out these half measure efforts, and then they move on to the next thing. Very much like Lorraine Williams did, right? With the splat books of second edition and third edition, just carpet the market with with 4 or 5 books a year that nobody really buys, few people run, and they're not going to revisit it at all. So it becomes kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's like, why would I buy something from Wizards of the Coast that I know that they're not going to support moving forward? And they have a terrible track record with video games as well, and doing the same thing. Sword Coast Legends was actually a fairly decent video game with a lot of potential, a potential for growth in it. And because their Descent into Avernus hardcover did not sell well because it was so poorly written, that they abandoned the video game that was designed to boost it, and so it was like, well, we're going to just, that didn't do well, so we're just going to drop the whole thing. And they pulled the plug on, just imagine a video game with servers, and they nearly a AAA video game, and they pulled the plug inside 6 months. I've never seen anything like that, and I'm a big MMO person. I mean, I spent almost exclusively 12 years just playing MMOs, so I had never seen that kind of the lack of support for your own product, and it rapidly declined that quickly. From launch to shutdown was 6 months. It's insane. The only thing I saw that went that fast was Tabula Rasa, which was a Richard Garriott MMO that barely. I don't even think it got out of. I don't even think it got out of beta testing. I don't think it ever officially launched. It was just dead in beta, died. So it's a weird thing. Any thoughts on? I passed up on Labyrinth Lord. I know wasn't it supposed they're supposed to be coming out with a new edition, right? And I don't know if it ever if they've done anything with it.
Any thoughts about the reprint of the Castles Crusades 2004 book that they just announced on Troll Lords? So did you get that notification?
No. Which one? They're yes.
They're reprinting the very first edition that they printed.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know if I'm gonna. You know what? I will probably look to just find the old first edition and get get that one. I have two very early editions of Castles and Crusades that were like the limited print editions. They were a brown cover with a gold inlay on them, and so I have those. I'm as much as I support them, they're in March. They're going to launch the 7-book series of Gary Gygax's world building. So I'm going to.
That will be exciting.
Yeah, that I'm definitely backing. So I'm not looking to pick up anything else until I see how much that's actually going to be. I have a feeling that that's going to be fairly big considering the number of books that are in it. So definitely going to hold off on anything until I see that. And then I have my convention in April. So I got to set aside that as well. Hey, Mercurius, thanks a lot for that. It's time to go back to put your nose to the grindstone. Yeah, so enjoy the rest of your workday, and thanks as always for the super chat, and thanks for popping in. Have a great day. So WotC hates their past. Yes, they do. They really do. I mean, they don't even like their consumer base from the past either. They don't like us. They want us out, and that's because we're always going to point out where they're failing, and so that's that's something that I guess that they certainly don't like, and they don't understand us either. They don't understand the hobby that they're in. I'm not talking about the WotC creatives. I'm talking about the WotC suits. They just don't get it. They think that it's the same thing as marketing a AAA video game with microtransactions and subscription based, which this hobby is not that. This hobby has always been. You could buy a set of 3 hardcover books and play for the next 20 years without skipping a beat and without needing anything else, because we've always been encouraged right from the beginning to write our own stuff. It's like it's always been a major part of Dungeons and Dragons is to, you write your own adventures, you write your own campaigns, even if you were using official modules, you were always, you're always twisting them to fit into your campaign world.
And if you adjust the original prices of the original books back in, say, AD&D days to 5th edition, the relative price cut to inflation was about the same. They're about $50 a book now, and they were whatever that would have correspondingly been back then. And you would do that $150 investment, and then you play the game. And they don't want it that way. They want you to keep throwing the money at them.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they want that consistent buy-in, which you're not going to get. I mean, Cynthia Williams came out and she said it straight up. She was like, I don't see how this model is a viable model where really only one of the 5 players is buying everything, and then they're just functioning off of that without ever having to put any more money into it again. It's like that's always been that is the hobby, is one person buys, or multiple people if they're spreading it around. But the other thing is that which they don't understand is that Gary Gygax always encouraged everyone to buy from other companies and play other games and dabble in different genres and all of that. So that's never been it's never been, I guess the word is like myopic, right? So they they've never been myopic, and this company seems like they want you only to play their game.
And God forbid that you buy another game and you find a mechanic you like there and you incorporate it into their game. Oh no.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like when people are saying, well, when is, when was 5e really that good? And I know some people were saying, hey, 5e was great when it first came out, but I was playing it when it first came out, and one of the first things I noticed in like three of the five groups that I was in, they started getting rid of the rules that made 5e 5e. So there was no, they were eliminating the short rests, they were eliminating the death saves, they were doing this and that, and the only good games that I actually played in were ones where they got rid of those things. I was like, all right, now this kind of feels like D&D once they got rid of those things. So those are the things that 5e is most well known for, and those are the two areas that are most likely to be removed in a campaign that's running well. So it goes to show you that I don't think 5e was ever that great of a system. Not even when it first came out, and let's not even talk about how much it's deteriorated since. And Joe Manganiello said the same thing. Um, from 2019 on, it's been downhill, all downhill since then. So let's see. So, all right, I am going to, now we're a little bit over an hour. I am going to be wrapping this up and everything. So I want to, thank everybody for coming in. Be on the lookout for the return of doing these recaps and such. Um, as I said, I'm going to be running my Call of Cthulhu game tomorrow night. And sometime next week, I will do a recap of that separately from my Castles and Crusades game, which will be, I'm not quite sure if I'm running that on Tuesday because I'm working in Manhattan Tuesday. So I might take me a long time to get home. I'm not quite sure. And, if it is that, we might start late, Cornelius. So I might look to do like a 9 o'clock start if that's the case.
Okay.
But I'll see how much. I'll
Well,
see how much.
you know me. It has to be pretty harsh for me to miss a session.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
So
very
I'll
good at
see.
that.
I'll see what it is. Hopefully, we could just do a late start, and hopefully, it doesn't take me 3 hours to get home, because that will certainly drain the heck out of me, and I probably won't be able to run a session. But we're still doing hex crawling, so those sessions do go fairly.
The last session was really exciting. We had
Yeah,
that
yeah.
encounter that lasted almost the whole session. So
Yeah. That was that was just something that came together, in my mind like really quickly, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to have a planned session, a planned encounter. I wanted to throw some of those dark fae, at you guys, and I dug through that Celtic mythos book to see. I was like, well, what could they actually face that's not going to totally destroy them? And
and
then
it was really great because it gave us an opportunity for almost everybody to kind of push them over the top to the next level. I think almost
yeah,
everybody leveled, so
yeah,
we'll be a little bit more capable for the next session.
yeah, and that was, again, that was a nice modified creature, because I certainly changed it a little bit. I gave it some spell abilities, which I handpicked some of those abilities they had to make it even a little bit more challenging, but not as much of the, like I said, if I relied on melee attacks, those melee attacks was like 5d10. I mean, that's going to wipe out just about anybody in the group. I think her bite was like 5d10, and I was like, oh, I can't use that. And I was like,
Yeah.
imagine. Plus, she got a +4 to hit,
Yeah.
because she was 4 hit die. And monsters are as fighters, so they get, she was getting +4 to hit, with those things. I was like, let me just load her up with some extra spells and spells that do area of effect and that kind of thing. There was really the possibility of you guys actually, if you all got stunned, you would have been captured, and then it would have been a whole other thing. You know, it was like, all right, now I have
Yeah,
to go.
well, luckily the stun that was on me for 4 rounds ended just in time for me to run up and save pounds.
Yeah, yeah, you know, and luckily you were the only one that got stunned. Like I said, there was a chance that everybody would get stunned, and then you'd be captured, and then I'd be like, all right, now where am I? How am I going to piece this thing together? That would have been probably the shortest session ever, because it would have been like, all right, you're all captured. Now I gotta sit back and
Now you've got to think of the Skyrim session where we all are naked, and how do we escape to the side of
yeah,
the cave and get our gear back?
yeah. It would have been a very interesting thing. So yeah, that could go any way. I mean, and that's really the way to, in my opinion, that's the way to run things. Is like, sometimes you might have an occurrence that just happened that nobody planned on, including myself, and now we're like, all right, well, you know what? That's an interesting thing. Now we're gonna have to, step back and see how it moves forward, and and that unpredictability, even on my end, is what makes it exciting as well.
I think we've got a good sized group now. 6 or 7 is pretty
Yeah, yeah.
optimal.
Like again, it's like that party, that party size with like 6, 7, or 8. Is it 8? Um,
Well, yeah, we had 6 last session, and then because Kelly couldn't make it.
oh, so then it's 7. It's
Yeah,
7 for sure.
yeah.
On a regular basis, it's going to be 7. Seven's a good size. Seven's a good size. Not that I'm pushing anybody away. I mean, the other 3 are welcome to, as soon as their jobs allow them to come back in, they'll be allowed to come back in. But yeah, seven's a pretty decent number, because you can work off of each other's abilities a little bit better. I think with Castles and Crusades, you kind of need that more so than AD&D First Edition. AD&D First Edition, you can get by on 5, and did
Yeah, if you
fairly
have
well on 5.
too many, then the druid, aka me, and the cleric basically only get to do healing. We don't get to use any other spells because we need it all to heal that many.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you guys were just used to having 2 clerics in the party all the time. Well, yeah, actually, you had 2 clerics, a paladin, and a druid. You guys had so much healing in your AD&D party that it
Right.
was pretty thing. And damn right, 7 is awesome. And yes, once you go up a level, MTN side, your monk is going to start to become like a freaking beast, and you know unarmed combat, and
And I think every level he goes, his run speed becomes faster, so
yeah,
he can get
yes,
in there and get into it faster.
it's gonna be like run
What?
for
Me and my short little legs.
he's gonna be force filled.
My little gnome legs have to take a while.
Yeah. So yeah, he'll be up to what, like 30. He'll be up to 40 movement rate
Yeah.
on next level. Yeah, so he'll start getting crazy fast. Already at 40. All right, so he'll be at 45 at the next level or so. All right, I'm going to wrap it up here. So everyone, thanks for joining in, and I have some videos coming out tomorrow. I'm going to take another look at the next section of Crown and Skull, and then see what else we'll do during the day. Maybe another short, and then it's game time tomorrow night at 8 p.m. So you all have a good one. Good night. Thanks for joining in, Cornelius. MTN side, thanks a lot. Mercurius, as always, thank you so much. Need more cowbell? Have a good one. Rational Ginger already left for the night, but thank you for joining. And let's see who else we have here. Cal, as always, thanks for joining in. T. Taylor, nice having you here. And Uriah, like I said, always welcome to join in the game if you can. We'll look at weekends too. Flint, good to have you on board. Nice meeting you. And that's it. That's everyone that was here. So you all have a great night, great upcoming weekend, and I will see you all sometime soon. Have a great one.
See you tomorrow.
Yep, tomorrow.